Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbaugh.
Call Center Coach develops and unites the next generation of call center leaders. Through our e-learning and community, individuals gain knowledge and skills in the 6 core competencies that is the blueprint that develops high-performing call center leaders. Successful supervisors do not just happen. So go to callcentercoach.com to learn more about enrollment and download your copy of the Supervisor Success Path ebook now. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today I'm excited because I have somebody on the show today who's really going to help us connect across the different generations that we currently have, both in the workplace and in our professional life. Phyllis Weiss Haserot, dubbed the cross-generational voice, was born and raised in New York City, in Manhattan, to parents involved in liberal political movements, a lawyer and social worker, appreciative of diversity, who she believes would be very much in tune with her values and mission today. They taught her to question what is and to figure out things for herself. Always, at times, when she felt she had no compelling dreams or passion, she put one foot in front of the other and kept going forward. Optimism, resilience, and determination. You can't Google those. Her wonderful dad, who she was close to, unfortunately died when she was 16. From him, she gained her interest in history, political science, and law. He took her frequently to her then-beloved Yankee games, though he preferred the other team, and she's been an avid baseball fan since. She's always had relatively easy relationships with males since early on. Perhaps sports knowledge helped. Phyllis emerged as a leader by 3rd grade, and she's always thrived on a diversity of interests, blessed with the infinite curiosity and interest in meeting new people. Her career trajectory evolved from an early career as an urban planner to marketing consultant to multi-generational workplace expert and champion of cross-generational conversation. In recent years, she realized the common thread in her path could be an interest in demographics and analysis of patterns to devise problem-solving strategies. A trailblazer in marketing and business development for law and other professional service firms, Phyllis leads as a consultant, facilitator, coach, speaker, and thought leader of several business books. She's the president and founder of Practice Development Council and founder of Cross-Generational Conversation Day. After living briefly in several other states for a few years early in her career, Phyllis returned to New York with a view looking out on the other river surrounding Manhattan. Her passions outside of work are musical theater, jazz, improv, baseball, and collecting and wearing wearable art. An active Cornell alum, she's married with one millennial Gen X cusper son on his 3rd career and a side hustle who has followed his passions. She taught him well to be comfortable with strong women and to do his fair share of domestic tasks like his father. Phyllis Weiss Haserot, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
I certainly am. Do my best.
Oh, I appreciate you being here. Now, I've given my Legion a little bit about you, but can you share what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Well, I think it is very much in my work, which is what I'll talk about as far as my current passion now, is on championing cross-generational conversation and collaboration at work. Got an idea about 5 or 6 years ago for the Cross-Generational Conversation Day and wanting to get that into organizations all over. And, and workshops and an ongoing thing. Got a lot of people excited about it. I love working with all of the generations. I get thrilled when they jump in and address issues that I toss out that they all ought to be talking about and feel comfortable with it. You create a non-threatening environment.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is, just creating, just an easier way by which to approach many of the things that we otherwise would just ignore or not talk about or feel uncomfortable with, and being proactive with it instead of reacting, in a way that we have to because we didn't address certain things.
Definitely true. And I think more and more in the last few years, as we've seen kinds of feelings and things that people were holding back from expressing come to the surface, people are really retreating more into their own tribes and afraid to address important things. So we really have to work at that and getting people to be a lot less resistant and reticent to talking to, especially people they don't really know.
Well, and I think you've, kind of made things easier looking through your book. You can't Google it, a compelling case for cross-generational conversation at work. Like, you made up a word, and we you and I, before we actually started doing the interview, talked about words we've made up. And one that is, for you important, in your message and getting this out is called Jengagement. What is Jengagement?
Okay, and you spell it with Gen as all caps. It really is creating a harmony among all the generations in their work, sharing what their common goals are, understanding the perspective of other people who are not like them, all kinds of diversity at different ages. And, if you're born at a particular time, there are certain things you know, and there are certain things you don't know because you weren't brought up with it, you never lived with it. And it's very important to understand people's perspective and expectations. So Jengagement really is getting people out of their own comfort zone sometimes and understanding the real benefit to themselves as well as their organizations, their communities, of getting to know each other, developing relationships, and having these conversations.
Well, and for me, I think you even gave an explanation in the book that for me, really is a little bit more of a compassionate type of explanation instead of just saying, oh, those young kids or, oh, those, old folks, is that you talk about generations really being defined by similar formative influences.
Right.
And those are
when they were born, in the specific year, and that there's flexibility. I always say roughly. I don't believe in some of the Census Bureau years that are used, but it's really all about that. What kind of influences formed the way you think and behave, and it could be depending on what part of the world or what kind of family that you come from. That influences it. There are differences if you are a leader and a manager than if you are somebody reporting to those people in terms of the way you think and behave very often. So there are a number of factors that have nothing to do with the specific date you were born. So we're talking about political, economic, social, and cultural influences.
I jokingly would say, sometimes, or I've been blessed to have the opportunity to be able to manage 19-year-old men and 65-year-old boys. So it's, even within, the different generational groups and the different influences, you'll find, different levels of maturity. You'll find different levels of experience and exposure and, different types of, value systems. I mean, it becomes quite diverse just within their own age group.
Right. And what I love, and one of those 10 traits and skills that I talk about in the book is curiosity. And to be curious about people is really a blessing, and it's something I'm infinitely curious about a lot of things. And I think you can't be a good networker, and you can't be a good business developer or relationship builder if you're not curious about people.
Yeah, and I even had a guest on the show a couple of weeks back that said the future belongs to the curious.
I like that.
And so another thing talking about curious and curiosity is you have a particular chapter in the book called Transition Fluidity. What is that?
It's really all about succession planning and knowledge transfer and role shifts. So we know that we need a lot more succession planning than is being done in all kinds of industries. And all the surveys that are done with CEOs and HR people, and they're asked what are their top concerns. It used to be number one. Now they have talent management or, retention as that. But they would say, succession planning is it. We've got to do this. And then they're asked, well, what are you doing something about it? And 30% would say yes. That's not good. And it's getting more urgent because we have more boomers who are, as I say, even babies are getting older every day. So all those things change, and we have to address it. And so with succession planning, with or without it, we need knowledge transfer. So that's the other part of that. And I'm talking about beyond what you can put in a computer, the actual data. But that's, again, all about relationships, conversations, the experience that you get from talking with other people.
Yeah, and with that, and in the book, which I really liked, is because ultimately what you're talking about here is changing practices and changing behaviors and building new habits so that, you're actually leveraging, the best of all of these different generations. And you have specific action steps, within the book, each individual chapter, which kind of makes this a lot more real, which I really enjoyed.
We have to get beyond theoretical to make change. So I tried to be specific.
And so for me, I almost, one of the things that we do at Call Center Coach in order to help develop frontline supervisors is we have boot camps. And the boot camps are focused specifically on, hey, do this, because, we need to build new habits in order to have, a different outcome, to have that better outcome in order to accelerate our path to success. Mm-hmm. And so when you start talking about, people being able to use these action steps, is there a particular pattern or path that they should take in order to fully leverage it?
It probably depends what the action is. I haven't created an overall system for all of these things. We talk about in there 10 traits and skills. It's really both. So some of them are innate things or things that are habits, and some of them are skills that you need to use that I think are even more important to success than the things you can learn, acquire, and practice by going out on the internet. But you need to develop relationships and have conversations with people. So that's that. And I think that for each of them, we look at through generational lenses. In the book, each of the chapters, except for the last one, the first one a little bit, we look at the context, what's going on, problems, solutions, and then those action steps. And there are examples of all sorts out in the book. And the last chapter, which I call Inspiration for Action, has among the quotes and things from the interviews I did in preparing for the book, researching, interview 2 or 3 people of different generations in a wide range of industries about cross-generational conversation, the obstacles, what they thought of it, what they get out of it, what is missing without having that in their work life. And then I put it together at the end with a few case studies on cross-generational conversation day workshops that I did with a large corporation as an example to show how did this start, who was responsible for getting management and budgets to support it. And that one, what I loved was it's very much grassroots action. It was employee resource groups, ERGs, who really loved the idea. The first one was there were new people that came to the company the last couple of years. And most of them were on the younger side, but not necessarily, people that entered laterally. And then they went to one of the senior people and got that support, but there wasn't enough budget from there. So the next year they went to another one and even higher up and got 3 other ERGs also as part of this. So it was this really grassroots action to say, we believe this is really important and you've got to support it. And it was the discussions they had were lively, great. People just plunged in. And so it was very gratifying, and I was very happy to include it in there as an example.
Well, I think that's a really interesting point to say how oftentimes it starts with me, right? And that, as far as that grassroots thing is concerned, it's, I have to start, believing it, communicate it, show it, lead by that example, share where I got it from, and slowly, over time, we can build a movement.
I got a question at one of the events. I'm doing a lot of events around the book about who starts these cross-generational conversations or any of these meaningful conversations that I'm talking about. And it could be coming from the top. It could be coming from the grassroots. It could be coming from anyone. It could be coming from you. And one of the things that I find inspiring about the younger generations, and there are a lot of things, is that they are less reticent to speak up and express their views on things or just want to speak out. And to some people, they find that, if not offensive, they don't know how to deal with this. So people of older generations. But I'm saying, and I think that I've, just sort of confirmed this from speaking with some younger people, that they're not demanding everything that they're talking about, and they're changing over everything in the way they would like to see it. But they do want to have a voice, especially about anything that affects them.
Most definitely. Now, when you start talking about all of these different generations and, making these connections and having this dialogue, and I am sure that, you found a lot of inspiration. And one of the things that we use for inspiration on the show are quotes. Is there a quote or two that you like that you can share?
Yeah, definitely. And in fact, that's giving me a nice softball. So the first one I would tell you is you can't Google it. So that the meaning of that is that even more important to succeed than what you can search for on the internet are the relationships and conversations you have with people of all generations at work. That you can't learn, acquire, or practice by Googling. These are these essential traits and skills I referred to before and that I cover in the book, such as perspective, trust, empathy, relevance, reciprocity, high touch, curiosity, inspiration. I didn't hit them all, but it gives you the idea. Things that are very, very important.
Most definitely. So, and all those are emotionally intelligence-based, and that's definitely in my wheelhouse and what I enjoy. So when you start talking about, the book and a lot of the things that, you've been doing and this movement that you're wanting to create around, Jengage Day, and is that I'm sure there's a lot of humps that you had to get over to get to this point. Is there a time where you got over the hump that you can tell us?
In my case, this story is not the why of my business or life purpose, but maybe it's my recent several months circumstance weighing on me that's crowding out other challenges out of my mind. Because actually, in terms of the cross-generational conversation, I've always been very much at ease with that, even from the very beginning of my career when I came out of school with a master's in urban planning, and I had people who were both younger and older reporting to me. So, and I realized as I go, my career went on that wasn't so easy for everybody, which is one of the reasons that I got so engaged with this generational work. But the challenge that I'm facing and have been facing recently and now still, if you want to hear about that, is that my greatest, most stressful challenge has been keeping my business thriving and promoting this new important book. The several months since October of 2017, when my husband's health suddenly drastically declined. It's Parkinson's progressing quickly and unpredictably after 10 years of a slow decline and being functional, though slower. So besides the many business responsibilities I've had to be managing multiple healthcare aides, schedules, emotional waves, and taking all of his responsibilities over and tasks that are under totally unpredictable circumstances. And through it all, I've always made all my book and other writing deadlines and the events I'm doing and my other ongoing commitments. But I think there's some very important leadership lessons that I've learned that I think are important to share. And I have been talking to a lot of young people about this and the circumstances that I'm going through, because we're going to be seeing more and more of this. And, there are some illnesses that there are no cures to, and more people are unfortunately getting this. And I know I'm resilient, I'm determined, and a congenital optimist, but the degree of frustration I've felt is enormous. I love my work. I'm happy when I'm doing it. And I've had great support from colleagues and friends. But it's been the perfect storm and hard to accept when I have to pass on opportunities I've worked for. The optimist in me hopes for more and even better opportunities in time. But some lessons that I would like to share are that you have to let go of some goals, at least for the time being. And it's a hard thing to do. And you have to simplify and figure out what are the highest priorities and what it is you have to do now and what you can put off. And, even if the opportunities don't come around again. Another one is that people really want to help, so that you should accept it. And very important, some things regarding taking care of myself, which is everybody saying all the time, and I do, are non-negotiable. And those are exercise, sleep, and eating healthy. And I've always said that, and I've always done it. But I've tested it now, and I've been doing these things every day without fail. And the other thing is spending time with friends and going to events. And lastly, that it's good to be determined and to consider myself number one. There's nothing wrong with that. My vulnerability, which is one of the things that I'm saying, I say I've learned from this, and good advice.
Well, Phyllis, thank you for sharing that. I definitely a lot of prayers coming your way. I have a good friend of mine who has gone through something similar with her husband, and you're talking about, a journey. And
he's not old, this is not something that, okay, somebody is 90 or more than that, and it's time, and it happened very suddenly, changing life. But it does happen, and there's nothing we can do about it except to try to have a good attitude.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. Need a powerful and entertaining way to ignite your next conference, retreat, or team building session? My keynotes don't include magic, but they do have the power to help your attendees take a leap forward by putting emotional intelligence into their employee engagement, and customer-centric leadership practices. So bring the infotainment creativity of the Fast Leader Show to your next event, and I'll help your attendees get over the hump now. Go to beyondmorale.com/speaking to learn more. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Phyllis, the Hump Day Hoedown is a part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Phyllis Weiss Haserot, are you ready to help us hoedown?
Yes, I am.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
Maybe, as I was saying, needing to simplify. I'm interested in doing too much of the things I like doing. And, sometimes that means also delaying adding more members of my team. So I used to be better at time management, but, simplifying how to do that and not accepting that you can't do as much as you want, even if there are things you like and you're good at.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Related to that, and as I was mentioning just before, showing vulnerability, but with grit, I say. And the grit part has not been difficult for me. And I think this is advice for both males and females, that vulnerability really helps create strong relationships. And it's a benefit to other people, too, because they do want to help and they want to feel that they're doing good things for other people. So share your feelings, don't let things fester, and solve conflicts as soon as possible.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
Belief in people to come through if they're inspired and making them feel important and recognized. And also somewhat related to that, trusting my insight and conveying I care.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
I don't have one piece of technology to recommend, but I would say reading and conversing widely to understand people and connect the dots about patterns of behavior. And this helps me be interested in and interesting to people. And it helps me easily connect and develop rapport.
What would be one book that you'd recommend to our listeners? It could be from any genre. Of course, we'll put a link to, you can't Google it, on your show notes page as well.
A new book within the last year called Problem Solved by Cheryl Strauss Einhorn, about a method of decision-making she devised called AREA. We all have to make many decisions every day, and it's a very useful way of looking at things and problem solving, somewhat different than what I've seen before.
Okay, Fast Leader Legion, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Phyllis Weiss Haserot. And Haserot is Haserot. Okay, Phyllis, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you have been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you. But you can't take everything back. You can only choose one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
Right. I would say the facility with and knowledge about good networking, and related to that, being able to read personal behavioral styles. Again, I'm just like you, Jim, all about people. And we all know that in all parts of our life, not only business, but definitely business too, networking is very, very important. And so many people are either fear doing it, feel really uncomfortable, or do it the wrong way, like going out and talking about themselves all the time instead of asking questions about other people, which is the way that you can learn about them, learn about what their needs are, and again, develop a good relationship.
Phyllis, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, of course, and Twitter. I have several websites. Then the book, the new one is www.youcan'tgoogleit.com. And you can also get there by going to crossgenerationalconversation.com. And my old, very, very huge website is www.pdcounsel.com. That's P as in Peter, D as in David, COUNS as in Sierra, EL.com.
Phyllis Weiss Haserot, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.